big breaking news that is coming in. The deadlock between disgruntled Sachin Pilot and Congress top brass may be broken soon. Sachin Pilot met Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi in Delhi and ended the meeting in a positive note is what we're picking up. Sources say that the Pilot meeting is now an indication that there must be some solution being worked out to get Sachin Pilot back into the party fold. This is a big development, political development that we're breaking first here on India Today. My senior colleague Rajdeep Sardesai joins us on the phone line. Rajdeep, with so much water under the bridge and so much of acrimony that we've seen between the Gehlot camp and Pilot camp, when they come back, and this is an indication, will the government be able to hold fort?
I think what is very clear is that both sides are looking now for a way out to achieve some kind of a respectable, honorable compromise. Until now, Sachin Pilot had studiously refused to go into face-to-face meetings with the Congress leadership. And this is the first time, therefore, since this entire episode broke out, that he's actually reportedly has held a face-to-face meeting, suggesting that he is keen for a way out. And so is the Congress leadership. Remember, the Rajasthan Assembly session is just 4 days away. And I think there's a nervousness in the Gehlot camp as to what the BJP can or cannot do at that when the Assembly actually meets. And a section of the BJP wants a trust vote. On the other hand, Sachin Pilot's options are also limited because while he might have hoped for much larger support from the MLAs, it's clear that he doesn't have the support of more than 18 to 20 MLAs at the moment. So I think both sides are looking for a way out. The Congress wants to avoid the fall of the Rajasthan government at all costs, and Sachin Pilot is hoping that he can get some kind of an honorable compromise worked out with the Congress. Whether it will materialize, we don't know, because Sachin Pilot has not officially commented on it. But what we do know is that the two sides have finally broken the ice after almost a month.
What about the spate of allegations that were made by the Gehlot camp with the BJP's involvement in the rebellion that we saw from Sachin Pilot?
Well, those allegations will still remain. There are question marks over what prompted Sachin Pilot to actually take away 16 MLAs to a hotel in Manesar in Haryana. Questions have been raised as to who was paying for the entire hotel bills. These are all questions that have been raised, and clearly the BJP has been accused by the Congress of in some way inciting this rebellion within the ranks. Now, apart from that, Mr. Gehlot has targeted Mr. Pilot in no uncertain terms. So how the two of them will be able to adjust with each other in the Rajasthan Congress. Remember, Sachin was also stripped of the Rajasthan Congress presidentship. Will he be taken out of Rajasthan for a while, brought to Delhi? All these options are on the table. It isn't as if the deadlock has been broken. What we can say is the ice has been broken. Whether the compromise formula that is being attempted will eventually materialize will depend on to what extent is Mr. Gehlot and Mr. Pilot willing to set aside their personal egos and try and work out some kind of a modus vivendi where they can work together. It won't be easy, but what it appears is, at least for now, the Congress is making a serious effort ahead of the 14th to try and break the deadlock.
Right. So, Rajdeep, what you're saying is that the ice has been broken. It's too early to say that there's a breakthrough that has been achieved, because a breakthrough would actually mean that all the concerns that Sachin Pilot had that led to his rebellion are addressed by the Congress top brass, and it's unlikely that they would adhere to every demand that has been made by him.
That's right. One of the prime demands that Sachin Pilot has been making for a while is that he wants the Congress to officially announce that he will succeed Ashok Gehlot during the very 5-year term of this government. Now, I don't think any party would be willing to do that, because that would undermine Mr. Gehlot's position. At the same time, I think what Mr. Pilot, what the Gehlot camp wants very clearly is that Sachin Pilot in some way must accept Gehlot's leadership for now. Now, whether this is therefore only a temporary truce is what remains to be seen. Remember, it's all at the end of the day about numbers. As of now, it appears that Mr. Gehlot has a wafer-thin majority. Should that disappear tomorrow, we don't know which direction the the entire Rajasthan potboiler will go. But for now, yes, Sachin Pilot's demands are still there on the table, and the Congress High Command appears willing to listen to them. That doesn't necessarily mean that they will be resolved right away, but there are some signs that a temporary truce could be bought because it serves both Mr. Pilot and Mr. Gehlot's interests to stave off an immediate confrontation.
And it's not like, Rajdeep, that either of the camps have an upper hand. Like you said, even Gehlot camp has just a wafer-thin majority and it could go either way, really. But the core issue still remains. When it comes to Sachin Pilot's camp, the core issue was always that Ashok Gehlot must be removed as the chief minister. So in case we're looking at a truce, then obviously the High Command would have to give in to these demands.
Well, I don't think that the High Command is willing to sacrifice Mr. Gehlot just yet, given the fact that they have backed him all the way until now. I don't think they would be willing to sacrifice him, but they are also aware that the BJP now could well step up its efforts ahead of that trust vote or the assembly session to try and bring down the Gehlot government. Remember, the BJP has already flown 20 of its MLAs out of Rajasthan because they feared that Mr. Gehlot could target them. So it is clear that the BJP also is conscious that the situation in Rajasthan remains fragile. There are 6 BSP MLAs whose fate will be decided in the High Court or possibly in the Supreme Court, who had defected and joined the Congress. There is an element of uncertainty, and in that uncertain environment, I don't think Mr. Gehlot wants to take chances, and I don't think Mr. Pilot has too many options to bring down the Gehlot government just yet, because he's not certain what happens if that government comes down, what will his role be in any future arrangement. So I think the uncertainty is leading both sides to look for a temporary truce for now.
In this particular case, then what would happen is it's going to be the utter delight of the Bharatiya Janata Party, and they would see this as an opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. I think the Bharatiya Janata Party is just waiting for the right moment to strike in Rajasthan. It's obvious that Gehlot's majority is a wafer-thin one. It's obvious that Sachin Pilot's issues have not yet been fully resolved. It is clear that Gehlot and Pilot will find it very difficult to work with each other in the months and in the months ahead. So the BJP is just looking for the right time to strike. Maybe they will press the pause button because they need to also get their act together. There are those within the BJP who are not keen just yet to bring down the Gehlot government. They would want a few more months, perhaps. So I think what it may well, this meeting suggests that there is an attempt being made to get a temporary respite, so that on the 14th there isn't a confrontation which can go either way. The BJP is very clear that the moment they believe that Ashok Gehlot has lost majority, they will strike.
That's right. Rajdeep, stay with us. Anand Patel is also joining us. Anand, the Congress party MLAs from the Gehlot camp earlier were very clear that all these rebel MLAs, there will not be any homecoming for them. But if there is, some sort of a truce or an indication of truce also, and the ice has been broken, is there a possibility of the homecoming in case they achieve a breakthrough?
Well, yes, that window was always there, Chaiti. This has been reiterated by the Congress leaders and the spokesperson, including Randeep Surjewala, time and again, whenever they address the press conference, that if the rebel MLAs want to come and talk to the party leaders, they can come and the window is open for them. Few things were very clear, that status quo will not be there. So that condition still remains. And latest here is that Priyanka Gandhi has met Rahul Gandhi. Both leaders have held a discussion. They met for over an hour at 12 Tughlaq Lane Road of Rahul Gandhi. And we had earlier flashed this news that the picture will be clear by evening. So things are moving in the right direction as far as Congress is concerned. The Congress party's prime focus at this moment, Chaiti, is to save Gehlot government. And the government is on a very shaky ground. The 6 BSP MLAs matter is there in the court, and also these 19 MLAs who are still in a BJP hotel in a BJP ruled state. So clearly, the wafer-thin majority which is there with Gehlot, when it comes to floor test, anything can happen. And the Congress party and Gehlot also wants to rule out this, and that is the reason why the Congress party has been extending this olive branch to the rebel MLAs. Or if they come back to the party fold, its strength will swell, and it will no longer will have to rely upon the independents and the BSP MLAs. So that is a possibility which the Congress party desperately wants to rule out before the 14th of August when the floor test is due to happen. So clearly, some sort of indications which we are getting since morning, there are talks and the talks are heading in a positive direction.
These indications, Anand, are coming from the sources in the
evening.
Congress party. Have we heard anything from the sources in the pilot camp at the moment on all these talks that are doing the rounds? If there is an ice that's been broken or perhaps a possible truce going forward, which could perhaps lead to a breakthrough. What does the pilot camp sources have to say on this?
Well, we've been trying to speak to some of them, and the restlessness is there, Chaiti, in pilot camp. It's been close to a month now that they've been, residing in hotels and resorts away from their homes, and some of them are getting restless. And the feeling is there that some of the party MLAs might, jump the ship and go back to party fold. Given the fact that Gehlot camp is also trying to entice them, bring them back. All efforts are being done from the Congress party in this direction as well. So there is restlessness in the pilot camp. And till now, what we can tell you is that the pilot camp has now given the authority to Sachin Pilot to negotiate whatever the best is possible for them, because they want stability and none of them want to lose their membership. That is very key element of this entire rebel camp. None of them want to seek a re-election, and that is the reason why so far they've been maintaining that the problem lies in Jaipur, the problem lies with Chief Minister Gehlot and not with the central leadership. So they've been always saying that they have been loyal members of the Congress party. Remember, Sachin Pilot has still now
that is coming
been saying
in
that
at
he's
the
an MLA.
moment. In your opinion and your perspective on whether there would be any kind of a breakthrough and perhaps this Congress government itself would end up sailing through and hold fort in Rajasthan, what is your sense? Because you know these leaders very well.
My sense is that at the moment, neither side has too many options. I don't think Gehlot wants to risk a wafer-thin majority and then go in for a trust vote. And I think there is, as Anand pointed out, a certain restiveness within the pilot camp that doesn't want to lose their membership. And they don't want to then be in a situation where they have to fight an election all over again. This is the big difference between Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. In Madhya Pradesh, I think Scindia had completely sewed up his deal with the BJP before he made the break. I think Sachin Pilot was hoping to become a catalyst for change within the Congress. I think he still wanted to fight his battle within the Congress, not necessarily with the BJP. And therefore, I think there is a clear shift in his stand now that he recognizes that his options are a little bit more limited. He needs to work with the Congress leadership. The key question is how will the Congress accommodate both him and Gehlot's respective concerns. But I think the very fact that he has made this move to meet the Congress leadership clearly suggests that a breakthrough is very, very possible now.
All right, Rajdeep, stay with us. Dev Ankur Vadhavan is also joining us. Dev, what are you hearing from the Gehlot camp at the moment?
Well, Chaiti, Gehlot had softened his stance over the last 10 days. There was a perceptible difference from what his earlier comments were. He called Sachin Pilot on record Nikara, Nikamma, but of late there was a clear softening of stance, and that clearly reflected the stance of the leadership of the Congress. Gehlot mentioned that if the rebel MLAs want to return, they can approach the party high command, and if the party high command forgives them, then he will embrace them. So clearly there is a perceptible difference in the stance of the Rajasthan Chief Minister, and there is a reason to it. Because even if when the assembly session, the all-important assembly session convenes on August 14, and let's say, hypothetically speaking, Gehlot manages to scrape through that session, proves his majority, it still will remain a wafer-thin majority of 2 or 3 MLAs. But there is still more than 3.5 or around 3.5 years still to go for this government, and Gehlot knows that he cannot have 10 to 12 police personnel guarding each and every MLA wherever they go. That is not practically possible for more than 3 years. And that is why he knows that his government will always be under the sword. It will always be under the razor's edge. And that is why he knows that he needs at least 5 to 7 more MLAs. And for that to happen, he will have to have some of the rebel MLAs returning to the fold once again. And that is why you see this kind of rapprochement, this kind of an approach to try to, convey to Sachin Pilot that all matters can be discussed.
So the question still looms large on whether the deadlock is going to be ending soon or not. For now, the reports coming in is that the ice has been broken between the Pilot camp and the Congress High Command as well. But whether or not a breakthrough has been achieved, that remains to be the question.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.